This is episode 82 of the Gauntlet podcast. My name is Jason.
My name is David.
I'm Lowell.
And I'm Rich.
Hey, David, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Listeners, you may recognize David's voice as my co-host on Discerned Realities, and he's here tonight to talk about something that's not Dungeon World, so we let him out of the Dungeon World dungeon, so to speak.
Well, honestly, I think if you're having trouble placing David, after he says his name, just imagine clicking. Oh, it's a lot faster for me because I always listen to the episodes like 1.5 times. So,
which is a terrible way to listen to podcasts.
It's perfect as long as it's not music.
Hey, Lowell, tell me of Mutant Year Zero. How's your game going?
So we've been continuing on, and it's been going pretty well, very strong. I mentioned before that the players had invested in the arc building side of this. Of course, it's a post-apocalyptic game from Free League. You're playing mutants in the rough, and it's a little more trad, but the players really like those projects. It's got a set of mechanics for that, a set of numbers, and I kind of expected that to maybe go a little slower than it has. They've been really pushing on it. They all looked in the book and saw that if you buy a spade, you get a bonus on making those rolls. So everybody bought a spade, and a bunch of them took talents to push it up. And they've been dumping their artifacts. Rather than keeping items and equipment, they're turning them in to push those numbers up. And I have to look at how that's rolling forward, because I think they'll look good, stronger than I expected them to be, sooner than I expected them to be there. But I wanted to talk about it because I had kind of a weird session, and it's sort of that mix of the trad indie, and you guys may have already had this experience.
Is someone going to say it? Our portmanteau?
Don't
Tradindle.
No. I gotta grunt on Steve's behalf.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's not a good portmanteau. It really isn't. But it's also kind of perfect in a way too.
So this group that I'm running for, 6 players, and they came out of a 2-year, essentially Fate campaign. They had competent characters there, and big action, and we're able to really do things. So far in the sessions that we've played, they've gotten used to Mutant Year Zero system a little. They know about rot. They've seen how damage works. They kind of figure out their risk and when they can push their die rolls. And they were kind of going along. And they were like, oh, this is kind of bad because we had to, spend a couple of bottles of water and some food to heal up. Well, this last session really swerved that. Like, they went off the road. What happened was they did their usual thing where they did their projects, and then we did scenes in the camp, and they interacted with people and pushed some rolls and took some damage. And I went straight from that to essentially a bunch of people heavily armed showing up at the gates and making demands of the group. And so they were already a little worn out. Now, one of the things about being at the camp in Mutant Year Zero is it's much easier to heal. You can spend the food resources easily, the water to heal up your stats. So they've kind of gotten used to that. Whereas when they're in the field, they expect to kind of have to be tracking all that. So they weren't expecting the switch there. And we went into this encounter, and they decided that they were not going to let these people make these demands. And it broke out into a fight. And the players did not do well. They hadn't taken damage like this before. like serious hits. And the bad guys had some equipment. They had bothered to bring, more powerful weapons, and they had armor and such. So the players are like, okay, what's going on? And so we've been playing very much, narrative stuff. I could see the players apply the brakes to the game. As they went to the character sheets, and they're going through every line, looking for exactly what they have and what does this talent mean and what can we do, and they were kind of doing that panic there. So that was a very weird. We had gone from being very loose to suddenly, okay, let's engage the system. And especially tough because my players, they don't have the books. They leave all the rules in my hands.
Have they been doing that for a long time, Lowell?
Yeah, 16 years,
Yeah.
I think. So
They'll say they're never getting any better about that. So.
yeah, that's not gonna get better. They saw that they had skipped over some very basic things that they could have done. That some of the players can build armor and can set up resources, but they had concentrated on other things, and they started to realize. And 3 of the 6 players, what's called break them, which is they go down to 0 on one of their things, and if they get hit again, I roll on a critical hit chart, and the critical hit chart can kill them, or it can, blow an arm off.
Yeah, I remember you saying that last time, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. And in fact, Sherry, my wife, she got in a position where she was about to get killed, and she has a mutation power, and she spent all her points to kind of deflect the thing. But then the mutation power went haywire, and that's the first time we've had that happen. And luckily it didn't kill her, but she ended up getting a new power. Great. But she had one of her stats go down permanently. You can't get those back up. And you only have 10 points to divide among 4 stats.
Yeah.
So that's 10% of her resources gone just on that.
I'm curious, when you started to kind of crank up the pressure on them and they had to turn and start looking at the rules, did that feel disruptive, or how did that feel?
It didn't feel disruptive. It was just a slowdown I hadn't seen in a long time, that switch. And I would go, do you have armor? And they would go, no, I don't. Wait, let me look at my sheet of armor. And the gearhead player would say, well, I could have made us armor, but I didn't. And there would be that sort of back and forth on things. They use their abilities more smartly in some ways, because the pressure was cranked up. But I could see that they were like, oh God, Lowell's going to kill one of us tonight, and it's not going to be pretty, and we haven't had a death like that in a long time.
Well, so I have a question. It sounds like this game can get pretty intense pretty quickly. I suspect that's the trad part of Treadindle right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
How fast is character creation? I mean, if you do lose a character, is it like a normal trad game where you basically have to stop so that person can make a character, or what?
No, and this is where it takes stuff from, I think, Apocalypse World. Is there are 8 roles. They have a playbook. It's very easy to go, here's how I'm going to distribute my stats. I'm going to make a couple picks. I have to assign some relationship things, and we're done. And I also had hinted, I had to make up 2 NPCs for the arc. And I have suggested that when they die, they're going to have to go to one of those characters.
I hope you like them.
Yeah. But I want to, next time when the session starts, I want to talk about what happened and the sort of brutal nature of that fight and what they learned from that and how they want to proceed. And are there things that they want to do now with their characters? And I'm hoping to use it as a learning experience.
I haven't actually had a character die in Dungeon World in freaking ages. And I think I've been too easy. I really do. You've inspired me to want to kill a character. So.
Just kill Ramshackle again. Just kill him
just kill Ramshackle again, just to get out of my system.
Well, the look on their face when the third player went down was priceless, because they were like, oh my God, because one of the players had stayed back. Only 2 people left, and they had to desperately finish off the last of the bad guys. So
once the characters start losing their points, those 10 points they have, and they start going down permanently, you said, right?
Yes.
Is there an option to, like in, say, a game like The Warren, like where you can just retire your character, you basically send them out to pasture? Like, is that a thing that happens, or like what are the incentives to keep that now lousier character? Like in the mix.
That's a good point. I don't think there is a mechanic in the game for that. I think it's just an assumption that's built into, if you're playing a post-apocalyptic game, things can get bad.
There's a grind,
Yeah, and there's a payoff. When you lose those stats, you get another mutation. So you get another superpower.
All right. Okay, cool. I was wondering what the counterbalance there was. Okay.
Yeah. And actually, I gave them, when Sherry did it, I pulled, because they have a deck of mutations, I pulled 2 of them and let her pick, which was good because one of them was amphibian, and she was a little irritated when she saw that come up, so she went with the other one. So I like Mutant Year Zero. One of the things I want to say is, having talked about Coriolis last week, I am really, really struck by how well they've tuned just some basic mechanics to get an atmosphere and a feeling across. That push mechanic, and I'm really struck. It makes me more excited about that In the Loop game that they've got coming out.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Hey, did they make that one we're playing next week, the Cryptomancer, or is that a different?
No, that's a different
okay.
one.
All right. I was just curious. I was thinking about that today because I think I'm in that one. So
yes.
Cool. Lowell, is there anything else you want to say about it?
No, I'm good.
All right. Awesome. Well, I got a chance to. Well, I keep saying I got a chance. Here's the thing, listeners. I have been super freaking busy with work and life and Gauntlet 2017, and I just have not been gaming much. Also with the Thanksgiving holiday too. So I'm in the middle of a Dungeon World series, which David is in, but we're talking about that on Discern Realities. And I wrapped a series of Monster of the Week. And of course, we've talked about Monster of the Week about 100 times. And I was running mysteries that I've run dozens of times. So I just have nothing new to talk about this week. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I just want to give a shout out to my Monster of the Week players. They were so great. Just really, really, really on board with like the tone and the flavor that I was going for in those series of games. It's a lot like the last time I ran Monster of the Week, honestly. Like I go for like a real 80s action horror kind of vibe on Monster of the Week, and I love it when the players like kind of read me on that and give that back to me, you know. And so kind of like that one session that we had with you, Rich, right? Like just that, you know, everybody did a good job like reading like what I was trying to do, like subject matter wise, and kind of doing that. So huge shout out to them. It was Chris Wiggin, Philip Wessels, Fraser Simons, Victor Wyatt, and we had Philip Neitzel for one session. So they're pretty cool. Extra special shout out to Philip Wessels because he played a mundane, and the mundane is the playbook. Like the normal guy that just gets into trouble, you know, like they just kind of wander into trouble. Mm-hmm. He played this character in a way that I don't think I've ever seen before. It was new to me, where he basically played him as like a sort of deeply clueless young gay kid who was just like focused on like hooking up with people on Grindr and like meeting celebrities. It was very like, and really, really dumb, like Derek Zoolander dumb.
Oh no.
But it was kind of great. It kind of worked. Like, so this character, like his name was Shuey. He was almost like the mascot of the group, right? Like it was never entirely clear if Shuey even understood like what they were trying to do, which was hunt monsters. Like he was just in circumstances with them, you know? And, he would use the mundane oops power. There's a move that the mundane has called oops, where you just stumble onto something by accident, and he would like do oops in the most like weird ways and weird places. Like he's swiping left on the little dating app, you know, and he oopses something about the mystery, right? Like just that sort of thing. So it was a neat character. Everybody had a good time with that character. It was really funny.
So Shuey, that sounds like he's just mashing up Shaggy and Scooby, and that's what he played.
It was basically what he played. Yeah, it was kind of that. Yeah, it was a good character. He was kind of like the sort of emotional heart of the team, even if he wasn't particularly effective at anything, except for just accidentally stumbling onto things and getting into trouble. It was a great series. I don't have anything else to say about it though. So we'll just go to Rich. Rich, what is utter nonsense?
Utter nonsense is my attempt to hat tip to Steve, who was unable to join us tonight and talk about a not RPG.
So it's a Star Wars thing.
Oh, well, it's not a full
okay.
hat. It's a half hat tip. It's like half of a hat that I tip. Anyway, it's not an RPG, and this rarely happens, right? I usually am all RPG all the time. But like you, with the holiday, other than a play-by-post, which I may talk about sometime soon, I did not play any actual physical live RPG sessions since the last time we recorded.
This episode is
one.
It's so wrong.
You can tell it's the end of the year. This is what the end of the year is like in the Gauntlet. So.
Went back to Tennessee, spent the night playing games with my old college buddies, and utter nonsense. You can actually buy it at Target. It is... I'm sure people would say it's like Cards Against Humanity. I have personally never wanted to play Cards Against Humanity after reading a few cards. This is not quite that kind of game. I could see how it could be problematic, however, as well, but I'm kind of bearing the lead here. Utter Nonsense is a card game, and the way that you do is you deal out 7 cards to each player. And then similar to Apples, it goes in rounds, and the first person is a judge, and they will pick up this special color. It's like 42 cards that are the accent cards, right? And each of the 7 cards you have in your hand are the phrases cards. And you look at your different phrases. They're all a little obtuse or bizarre, or potentially funny. Some of them are written in a kind of accent. But you are supposed to look at your 7 cards, and then when you find out what the accent is, you have to read one of those cards in the accent or style. Now, it's not just accent like Russian or Bostonian or New Yorker. It is also like a grandma, or mumbling, or a nerd, or a heavy breather. So there are a lot of different ways that you're supposed to affect your voice. And then there's, of course, the ever-famous Judge's Choice, which was fun. And so,
okay. Is that like just a random thing the judge gets to do, or they pick?
Judge gets to tell you whatever accent is floats their boat.
Okay.
You go in rounds. Everyone does their little phrase. They read it however they want. And then the judge picks whoever they like best. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the person who does the most accurate accent. It often is whatever antic the person has done that made them made the judge laugh the hardest. It was silly. It took me a little bit to get into it because we were all, I was completely sober because I don't drink. That's not a teetotaler thing as much as just it's too many calories, guys. It's just too many calories. So it's empty calories. So yeah, I think if I were drunk, this would have been a heck of a lot of more fun to get into immediately. But once I finally just bought into it, it was okay. Norwood, a good buddy of mine, he had Russian, so he actually at one point slipped off his shoe, and when he began his phrase, he was hammering his shoe on the table. My friend Jonathan, one of the phrases was, one of the accents was not speaking, nonverbal. And his was some crazy phrase about when you fall out of an airplane, pull your t-shirt over your head because then someone might see you falling and think you're a free t-shirt and try to catch you because, hey, free t-shirt. And he had to do that without words.
Okay.
It was bizarre.
It sounds bizarre, yeah.
There are a lot of blue phrases, or there's some really obtuse things to say in different accents. It was a fun time, though. I mean, it was goofy. You can find it at Target. It's not too terribly expensive. I think it's like $25 at Target. It's worth checking out. Cool. Definitely worth checking out if that's a party that you were. We had 8 people, and we were looking at the wall of games. Like, what runs for 8 people that will not take us all night long? And that was one of them. I had a good time. It was pretty cool.
Cool. Awesome. That's all you can kind of hope for with those games, right? I mean, like, that's like it's table stakes and the goal. It's both in one. You just want to have fun. So
I almost won. I guess winning. I got British and I got New Yorker. I was pretty proud of those two. So.
Do you want to do it for us?
No, I don't.
Pick a sentence.
If I had the phrase,
pick a sentence from the notes, any sentence you wish, and then just read it.
Put me on this spot.
Easy.
Yeah. We could just
we played soba and it was still fun. We had shoes slamming on the table. We had rappers. We got to hear strip tease. It was pretty fun.
It's good.
Reasonable.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, move on.
We can just do the rest of the show. We can just do the rest of the show assigning these to each other. And
we should
do the segment.
Since we have so little to talk about, that should have been our gimmick for this episode. We all just say what we have to say in an accent.
I will say, Rich, Sherry would hate that game because she really believes that she can't do funny voices. And I found this among a number of women RPGers that they haven't trained themselves to do dumb voices, so they're real hesitant about it. And Sherry hates being put on the spot to do any kind of accent.
It's the best. It's the most fun of role playing games. Like, I don't give a shit about any of the rest of it. Almost like if I can just do a stupid voice, I'm like really really happy. Like the rest of the session could be garbage, but if I'm enjoying my voice, I don't even care.
Oh, dude, I'm with you. Like comic strip AP, I'm getting ready for the game. Like I'm not reading up rules. I'm not. I'm thinking like, what voices can I slip in when I run? Don't rest your head. I think I could do this voice. I think I could do this voice.
David and I just did a comic strip AP, which is not out yet, but we just recorded one, and all day, all I was thinking about was this one character and this one line I thought she was going to get a chance to say, and all I was thinking about was, I want this to sound right. And I think I practiced it like a dozen times, you know. Like, that was it. And I think it came, what do you think, David? I think it came off pretty good. I thought it was pretty solid.
I think it sounded lovely.
Yeah.
I even took a lot of extra effort to try and emphasize it with some sweet music.
Nice. Yeah. The finished product's good. Yeah, voices are the best. Do voices, listeners. Or you could do like, you know, honestly, we're kind of in the weeds here now, but who cares? Tim B does a thing which is like, I think it's like an interesting compromise between doing a full-on voice and just doing like himself, which is like he just changes his own voice in a way, like he gives it like a certain character, you know, to indicate that it's a different character. I think it's so good. Like it's really, really subtle and it's good, and you're spared the sort of like initial like feeling of embarrassment as you go all in on your dumb voice. So. But anyway, I always like it when
Lowell has no shame. Lowell's not going to talk about it, but he has no shame. That boy will throw down some killer voices.
I love doing voices.
Lowell, Lowell, he's set something of a marker now for whenever we do the thanks at the end, right? So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Wow us.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Awesome. Hey, David, I really want to know what this is. What is Blood and Water? I know you've been playing that for a few weeks.
Yeah, so I had the privilege of playing Blood and Water with Dan, Horst, and James. Blood and Water was written by James Mullen from Groundhoggeth Games, the same James who I was playing with. He was running it for us.
He wrote the Hood, right, Rich? That was.
Yep, sure did.
Yeah.
It's basically Being Human, the role-playing game. If you're unfamiliar with the show, as I was, like I know conceptually what it is, but I've never seen it. It's basically things that were monsters that are trying to pass themselves as humans and just kind of live a normal life. That's kind of the premise.
I like that setup. It also reminds me of what's that vampire comedy that came out a couple years ago? What We Do in the Dark or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Things We Do in the Dark.
Yeah, Things We Do in the Dark. That reminds me of that too. Yeah.
That's this is what the game is pitch. How it worked was very, very light mechanically. It does a nice job of setting up your characters in a quick way, but in a way that you understand them. You answer a few questions. I am, and that's what you are like supernaturally now, and your name. But I was, and that was your like when you were a human. And then I crossed over when something traumatic happened.
I am a vampire. I was a barista, and I crossed over when
you got bit.
But I got bit. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And then you cannot be with mortals for this reason.
Because I will drain their blood, right?
Yeah. But you're held back from leaving them because you love being a barista or whatever. And then you cannot be with your own kind because you hate vampires. And but I'm drawn in by the fact that I'm going to have to live forever and I don't want to be alone. Then you list some strengths, some weaknesses, and you pretty much just start rolling from there. Importantly, you are working with some other supernatural beings that are probably not vampires. There's something else. You could have mummies. You could have ghosts. You could have skinwalkers or skin changers, whatever. And you're all like friends in the game. You're on each other's side, which is important for how the mechanics work. So how conflict resolution in this works is you have the GM and you'll get to a point of conflict with whatever's going on with the NPCs and your character, and then he'll tell you to roll. You're just going to roll 1d6, but you can tell one of your other friends to roll for you instead, and a success is a 4, 5, or 6, and a failure is a 1, 2, or 3. But when they roll, if they get an odd number, failure or success, they are going to have consequences from the action. Now, they're not necessarily even in the scene at this point. So what the consequences are can be something very, very strange or very ancillary to what's going on, but there will be consequences if they get the odd number.
So to be clear, there's not like a fictional requirement for like me giving you my die. Like it's just a table thing. Like, oh, I'm just giving you a die to roll. Or does my character have to do something to give you the die?
No, your character isn't even in the scene.
Okay,
and
right.
you don't get to give the die. I get to say I want Jason to roll
Oh,
for
I
me.
see. You choose. Okay.
And if you roll and fail, I can say I want rich to roll for me now. And I can keep going until I'm out of people to roll for me. And if you start getting consequences and the GM tells you this is the bad thing that's going to happen to you, you can sever your bond with my character. And like, there is some tension between our characters, and the consequence is not as severe on you, but we can't roll for each other anymore.
Oh, that's interesting.
It gets to the point where it's like, I need, this is a big thing that I'm about to do, and I need to make sure I succeed. So I'm going through everyone who can roll dice for me, but then bad things are happening to them. So they start cutting me off, and I can't use them again until we fictionally, our characters make amends somehow.
Oh, okay.
It works really, really well. It was super satisfying to have that mechanic. And that was all we really needed. That was it. That's it mechanically. We told a really, really great story in 3 parts. Each session felt like 2 episodes of a TV show. So it felt like we played 1 and 2, and then 3 and 4, and then 5 and 6.
Okay.
And 6 was a huge finale.
You had a BBC length season then. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything just went crazy there at the end, where we're just like confronting the supernatural, and Dan's character like confessed to a cop that he was a skinwalker and that he's living with a mummy and a ghost, and like convinced her that was reality because of all the bizarre like crimes that were happening around the city. Oh, it was just so good. And I can't express enough how impressed I was with James running it. There were times where I was like, I have no freaking clue what's about to happen next. Like, if I was GMing this, I don't know what I would do. I hope that since he wrote it, that all of that great things he was doing is advice that's written in the book, but I haven't read it. So.
He's probably run that scenario like 100 times. So no, I'm kidding. He may not have been improvising any of it, right? Like, no, I'm sure he's awesome.
I don't think that he had much of an opportunity to be like moving us along through that, because our characters and what they were doing was so unique.
That's what I figured. Yeah, I figured it was probably not like. It sounds like it kind of just develops a little organically, right? Yeah,
it's very organic how it develops. Like, it'd be very difficult to try and plan too much. Like, you could plan an opening scene, and you could definitely tell, like, he was doing that. Like, he had ideas, for the next session. He's like, okay, all right, I come to the table, and I know, like, I want to try and make this happen and try and make this happen. But you don't know what the players are going to do, because I'm a ghost, and I was a murderous ghost. I was trying to kill everyone in life who had been part of a conspiracy to kill me, and he was trying to like talk me out of it through some NPCs the entire game, and I was just like, nope, not doing that. Nope, not doing that.
Awesome. James was really good on the +1 forward AP, I thought.
Yeah, I was going to jump in with that. I thought he was really creative and interesting. So
that AP sold me on the hood, because I was not super interested in the hood before that. Like, it was not even on my radar, but then I heard that AP and I began to see the possibilities of how the moves drive the fiction in certain ways, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of into this. Like, I suddenly saw my perfect game to do The Wire, right? But gosh, no, that's cool.
Yeah, I may be putting that up on a future.
That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be a fun one. Yeah. It's one of those. Man, it's one of those ones that the hood is one of those games like. There's always like a new hotness, right? Like, oh, this month it's the Sprawl, and now soon it's going to be the Veil, or it's Masks, or it's Bluebeard's Bride, and like. There's always like the older games like the Hood and a couple of others where I'm like, I want to get to that game, but I've got to get this new cool game on the table first. So I got to get out of that thinking, right? So, but Monster Hearts 2, oh man, that's gonna take up so much of my time next year. Jeez.
Shut up.
It's true.
Jealous.
Hey, well, so David, that sounds pretty cool. I know that James was doing some write-ups for that too on his website, right? Because he posted those to G+, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, they were little like fact summaries of our 3 sessions.
Yeah, I read the first one. I haven't read the other 2 yet, though. It sounded like it was pretty cool.
Yeah, go check that out if you want to play that game. That's the show, and now it's a game, and it works really well. Just if you're a GM, you're gonna have to be pretty nimble.
That's almost. I mean, gosh. I mean, nowadays though, like I think, man, the days of like preparing out every single beat of the story are gone, right? I mean, that's not a thing anymore. So people can handle it. Our group can handle it.
Yeah.
Gauntlet can handle it. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to check that out. I'm bummed I had to miss it, but I desperately needed the time, so it was good. It was a good time to bail for me, but I will be back to Story Game Sunday soon. All right, David, anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Cool. Let's jump into our sponsor spot real quick. This episode of the Gauntlet podcast is being sponsored by our friends at Nocturnal Media. Listeners, I've just learned that Nocturnal has entered into a publishing agreement with game designer Ben Dutter and his company Sigilstone Publishing. You'll know Ben from games such as Belly of the Beast, Hunt the Wicked, Vow of Honor, and his most recent successful Kickstarter, Perseverant. Perseverant? Is that how it's pronounced? Anyway, we're big fans of Ben's games over here at the Gauntlet. He's a great guy, and this is super exciting because it means he's going to be able to reach a lot more people with his stuff. So go to Nocturnal's website. We'll have a link in the notes and check out the details of this deal. It's pretty cool. And thanks again to Nocturnal for sponsoring the show. It's giving me life. Rich, what's giving you life?
What's giving me life is that aforementioned play-by-post. So there's a new Apocalypse World 2nd Edition game that I launched a week and a half ago, and it's a little bit of an experiment.
Oh, this is your Death Valley thing. Oh, yeah.
It is, cool. It is, yeah, the DVFP. So Death Valley Free Prison, which I think I've mentioned way back, is a supplement for cyberspace from like 1990. It is the idea of a free prison that all the world governments decided they wanted a place to dump all their worst of the worst. And they cordoned off Death Valley and erected gigantic walls with huge gun turrets and threw all the worst of the worst in there. Now, I layered on top of that the idea that inspired by Running Man and Hunger Games and kind of all that. So there are people on the outside, the rich, the elite, the ones who aren't thrown into DVFP, who are watching this. It's a reality show. It is the most popular show on air. Also, Underground, the RPG, had combat. Just want to throw that in for pretty much Phil Vecchione. There you go, Phil. But I wanted to model that in a different way, right? Because I like the layers of it, that meta layer. So here's what I've done. I have created a Google Plus collection, and anyone who follows that, I will be posting up scenes as they are put onto the forum. Not every single one, because there's some smaller scenes, but the highlight ones. And then when there's a crisis point, when I want to disclaim decision making, I actually put up a poll, and that is in the hands of whoever pops in to vote.
Oh wow. So are we like the audience?
You
are the audience. That's right.
Wow.
That's right. So anyone, and in fact, the players get to be the audience too, right? So there's a whole layer, and they get to go in and vote. One person, one vote. And
do we win prizes if someone dies?
Yeah.
Yes, you get to read about them dying. That is your prize. So far, there has been one poll that went up. It decided the fate of an NPC that was introduced in a couple scenes. As soon as the poll was closed, he had it. He almost bit it, but he was nearly dead and needed saving, and he folded right into a new scene with another character, not the character who'd interfaced with him before, and that person came along and saved him. And so he's an NPC who is now, for those who are reading, has had his leg amputated because he was really messed up.
Wow.
And yeah, so not just polls, right? There are audience rules that are currently in development. They've gone through a few different iterations. I started with Tara, who's one of the players. Jen, who is awesome at custom moves, has helped me come up with some ideas. I shared that, or I kind of mentioned it, and Marshall Miller reached out, and he gave us a couple ideas. It was like, Jen said, I'm all this is trash. I'm going to make it this whole new version so much better. So version 4.2 or something like that is what's coming soon. But we are, the polls are easy, right? That was the thing. I just want to kind of keep people involved from the point when I introduced the game. But there will be more audience move type things coming on. I'm really enjoying DVFP. It has given me the opportunity to go back. I've rewatched Mad Max twice in the past week. It is so good, guys. That movie is incredible. Like, I saw it in the theater twice. Watching it on Blu-ray when you can actually just anticipate moments. Oh, it's amazing. I got the Mad Max game for Xbox One. It was on super duper sale. So I'm just super immersed in Road Warrior style fiction to try to really get.
When you say Mad Max, do you mean the new one, Fury Road?
Mad Max Fury Road. Sorry, it wasn't clear. Not the original Mad Max, but
well,
Fury Road.
I thought maybe you meant Thunderdome, because that would be like thematically appropriate.
It
right?
is good. Yeah. It is good. Yes, and it's very showy, right? But no, Fury Road is Beyond Thunderdome's good.
I think David, didn't you and I see Fury Road together at the theater?
Yeah, we saw it. We saw it together right before I moved out of Houston.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And that was like the best thing
so
ever.
Good. Yeah, it was great. We were like, we just left the theater like dazzled, like, oh my god, that was amazing.
Yeah, we just gushed about it for like a week. Like my leaving Houston post is like a witness me post.
Yeah, and we just and we made fun of all the Houston Gauntleteers who hadn't seen it yet. We're like, oh my god, you suck. You haven't seen it yet. So.
It's transcendently good.
It really is.
It
yeah,
is
it really
just
is.
amazing. And rewatches are even more rewarding because I can dial in and get past the shock and awe that I had the first few times, and now I can go, oh,
you can look at details and
man,
stuff.
That's
yeah,
really tight.
I will tell you what, that film is brilliantly edited. The director's wife does the editing. She is amazing. The way that is cut is just brilliant.
Cool.
Yeah. I love that. I think you had mentioned the Every Frame. What was that YouTube show?
Every Frame of Painting.
They talk about that Mad Max Fury Road, and it's amazing how much he pointed out the artistry in that movie. So that's what's been giving me life, is everything around DVFP has been just miraculous.
I think you do need to.
Really
you probably should add some very, very like camp Running Man style villains, right? Because, like, I mean, come on, like Dynamo. I mean, he was pretty great.
He is pretty great.
Dynamo, right? He was pretty awesome.
Jason, if you'll read and vote, I'll throw it in.
Running Man is set in 2017, so
there you go.
Oh, man,
appropriate.
perfect.
Sub-Zero. Now you're just plain Zero. That's so good.
Oh man. Also, if you could just spray paint the lower half of your face silver for 1 second.
There's some things you could do.
Yes.
Cool. Awesome. Is there anything else you want to say about it, Rich? It sounds like a really cool project.
The last bit is the Mad Max soundtrack is what I listen to while I'm typing.
Nice.
But yeah,
Smart.
Give me lots of life.
Awesome. Lowell, what's giving you life?
So mine's a little more low-key than that. So on Netflix, there's a series that they have as a Netflix original that they've done 2 seasons of, and they've just released another one. It's called Chef's Table, and this one is Chef's Table France. It's just 4 episodes. They're about an hour long, and what they do is these are very different chefs with very different stories, and they go and they essentially spend time in the restaurant, walking behind them, getting their story, seeing, what they're doing, getting a story of where they came from. And it's food porn, which I love. And, but it's also amazingly about craft, about how these people decided that they were going to do this, and what being this kind of very ephemeral artist means to them. And I think that's fascinating for the variety of approaches. And there's some interesting. They have a couple of women chefs, and they talk about their very different experiences in the kitchen. It's really amazing. One of the things that strikes me, if you watch the series, is how many of these chefs at some point go, "Okay, I'm done. Everything I've done, every recipe I've built, this whole restaurant design, everything I've done, yeah, let's erase it all. Let's start over completely." And that reinvention is crazy. Like the last one I just watched tonight is about a French chef. His dad and his uncle were the heralds of French new wave cuisine, and he got the restaurant, and he was like, okay, everything that we've done, that we got 3 Michelin stars for, gone. And you're like, holy cow, how could you do that? But
right.
It was his creative impulse. He had to do that. He had to react to them. But then you've got these other people who are reacting to their own work and saying, nope, I've done that enough. Let's move on, no more Vampire the Masquerade. Now we're going to do something else, So that's my connection there.
No, I get it though. No, that's you joke, but I get it. Like I'm not trying to compare myself to these people who are clearly geniuses, but but I get the impulse to want to avoid conventional thinking, to avoid like being caught in a loop, right? Because it's comfortable. Like that totally reads. Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a very neat series. It's beautifully shot. It's the music is great. I really recommend it. And it's great to watch while you're eating because it makes the food taste better.
There you go.
So
that makes a lot of sense. Cool. Awesome. David, I'm looking at the notes. I don't know what that means. So I'll just let you tell us what is giving you life.
I knew it. I knew you'd just look at that and be like, oh no. So, longtime listeners of the show
very long-time listeners. I know where you're going with this.
Very long-time
like, there
listeners
may
of
not
the
be any
show.
of them left, but yeah.
We'll recall that I once was given life by a discount of hot dogs at the grocery store.
Yes. It was a good giving me life.
I remember
it was a good
that
giving me
one.
life. It was probably one of the best, yeah.
It's hard to top. Yeah, hard to top.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to beat that here, but this is still in that same vein of things. Summer of Chiptopia is giving me life
Fuck is
still.
that?
So Chipotle, the restaurant, did a kind of summer gimmick where if you ate there a shit ton for 3 months, you could win all kinds of fabulous free stuff. I beat it. I won it all.
You won all the stuff. Was it just
I won
burritos?
all the
Like, what'd you
stuff.
win?
Yes, I won.
You ate a
more
bunch of burritos to win some burritos. I mean, like,
Yeah, that's
Yo,
exactly
dog.
what happened. And so I ate at Chipotle 33 times this summer. And
oh my god! Oh god!
I like Chipotle.
No, I love
can see
Chipotle,
that.
but
It's good,
33
it's
times
good.
in the summer, Jesus Christ!
I never got really tired of it. They're doing that right, but I won catering for 20, and
Wow.
I am taking that to to a final class of one of my law school classes, and I'm giving everyone a Chipotle
that's
burrito.
really
So
wild.
nice.
that's giving me life. That's happening tomorrow.
Congratulations!
That is cool.
Great.
Congratulations! I found the best deal.
Yes, you did, yeah. Oh, all right. Well, that's great. Cool. So the thing giving me life is. What am I laughing about? I looked away.
Sorry. Some burritos.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. I know.
It's so bad, like rolling into a law final going, and I got you. Look under your seat.
You get a burrito.
You get a burrito. You get a burrito.
It's good.
I thought you were going to say you were able to cater like a mini house con or something.
That's what I thought you were
I
going
thought
with it
that
too. I was
was
like,
going.
oh, Gauntlet Lubbock getting a little burrito thing. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you think I've got time for that right now? No, it's law school all day.
Okay.
Awesome. So the thing giving me life is we're at that time of the year, like every year, where I am beginning to kind of, we really are beginning to put some like kind of finishing touches on things we've been doing this year, getting ready for things next year, meaning the Gauntlet 2017. And I'm just I always get really excited about the new year. I am like a genius chef who takes my 3-star Michelin recipes and throws them in the bin in anticipation of the next year. No, I'm really loving it. You guys, Rich talked about Comic Strip AP so eloquently last week, and I won't try to top that now, but Comic Strip AP I think is going to be so badass. Like once it gets going and once people really start to realize, like once it clicks, like what it is, even the people creating the shows, once it clicks for them what it is, I think it's going to be a really, really awesome thing. We just launched the YouTube channel. So we now have a YouTube channel with all of our podcast episodes in one place. We are going to have AP videos on there at some point. There's one on there right now, but we'll be adding some more in the future. Dr. Tom is coming to our YouTube channel to pun us to death. So that'll be awesome. And so that's a cool thing. We are taking a look, we meaning Lowell and Rich and myself and Steve, taking a look at the Gauntlet podcast and making some changes for the new year for the Gauntlet podcast. We're going to try to bring back some topic focus, which I think is good. Try to have some guests on that are, which is something we haven't done in a long time. And I'm prepping a series that's focused on the Satanic Panic that we're going to be doing all year. So that's going to be cool. Codex is ramping up. We've got the 2 big special editions of Codex. I've got some ideas for some very, very tiny mini issues of Codex. Hey, Rich, I think Death Valley Death Valley thing written up in for a mini codex would be really great.
Sure, it's out of print, kind of.
Yeah.
Well, I just mean your procedure. You're like,
I know, and the audience rules.
Yeah, the audience
once we
rules.
get them hammered down, would be good.
And we're going to be expanding Gauntlet Hangouts. Like, that's just going to continue to grow and grow. I'm just very, very excited about Gauntlet 2017. I'm super excited that, like, Lowell, I'm so happy that you're a part of the Gauntlet, like being a part of the stuff we're doing and running games and helping host the show.
It's very nice of you to say.
Yeah, no, I think you add like a really, really deep and interesting well of RPG knowledge that I don't have. And I know that everybody like really, really appreciates like what you're kind of bringing to the program. And we're going to have some other people who are going to be getting involved in things next year. So I'm just really excited about next year. I just think it's going to be so fucking cool. We have a lot to look forward to as a community, and the community always gives me life. Like, you guys always give me life, but like especially, I especially get life from you when I'm thinking about how much better we're going to be. So I'm always thinking about that. So anyway, it's great. And that's our show. Now I got to think about how I want to do this to get maximum funny voice participation. So I think I'm going to go. Rich, thank you so much.
Oh, very glad to hear you.
I tried to contain it. I couldn't. Lowell, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good.
David, thank you so much.
Oh, it sure is great to be here.
So bad. Oh, God. Oh, and we know where to find you guys. Thank you, listeners, for listening. That's our show. All right. That was an episode of The Gauntlet.
It was a lot of stretching.